So good afternoon, and here we are back at the School of Art and Wellbeing. We've been talking to you and telling you all about the art trail that's going on out there. That's the Eclectic Art Trail Art, an art gallery literally mown into a meadow in Devon that goes all the way around the fields here. And we heard from Daryl Wakelam, who showed us he's built a beautiful castle. In fact, Sam, can you pan to those castles just there? Show the castles on the table there. We've got some lovely castles here in the pavilion. So those are the castles he's been building this one. That's going to be our prop for our show moving forward. And yeah, back to me. Okay, all good. So basically, the next activity, the art field, the art trail, if you like, is a field that's got an art gallery literally mown into it. It's a beautiful, beautiful site that we've got here. We're so grateful for to the School of Art and Wellbeing for letting us have access to the site. Absolutely wonderful. And this film gives you a sense of the beauty of the space here. And we had a session with Daryl, who's created some castle art that we're going to put in there. And we want you to make castles inspired, if you like, by the Lulworth Castle there at Camp Bestival. And this is the site we're in. And this is a bit of drone footage that was shot the other week of the lovely site we've got here. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go to a workshop with somebody we saw actually on our UK Art Takeover tour, Franca Westaway. So let me press that button there and this button here and go across to Franca. Can we see Franca? We can see Franca. Let's see if we can hear Franca. Hello, Franca. Can you hear me? Turn that microphone up, just point the microphone towards you a little bit, maybe. So
hi, everyone.
We can hear you and we can see you as well. Now? That's great. Franca, what are you going to be doing this afternoon for us?
Okay, so I'm going to concentrate on the cat and black and white themes that we're kind of running with this weekend. So,
and where have you come from today? Where have you come from today for this?
North Cornwall, Bude in North Cornwall. But weirdly, I used to live very close to here on the Jurassic Coast, so I know this area very well and really love it here. So it's really lovely to be back in the countryside around Honiton. Yeah, like you say, in this beautiful setting.
Fantastic. Well, we've got the art trail in the field, as we said earlier. I'll just to show everybody what that looks like. So basically, we've got the site here with an art trail through the meadow, and then another piece all the way around the back. And of the 5 themes: castles, black and white cats, the art of lockdown, and art of loo rolls. Which two are you going to cover this afternoon for us?
I'm doing cats and black and white.
Cats and black and white.
Yeah,
We've chopped your head off on the camera there by the look of it. Not to worry. Here we go. So I'll leave you to it for half an hour. How about that?
Okay.
Going to have a cup of tea. Someone's just arrived with some butterfly cakes, which sounds good. So I'm going to go have a butterfly cake. Thanks a lot.
I haven't included cakes or butterflies, but okay. So I like to do arty things that don't involve much cost or kind of expense to people, stuff that people of any level of experience can take part in, using resources and materials that you've got readily to hand. Hopefully you'll have stuff like this in your homes, and just want to give you a few ideas today of some little art and craft activities that you can get involved in. So I'm going to start off with these rather cute and somewhat silly finger puppets. So you can see I've got a black cat and a white cat here. And these are literally little strips of card that we've cut out and drawn on. And the card I've used is just a cereal packet. So to start off with something like that, I've cut out loads of strips of cardboard, and they are literally from a cereal packet. Cereal packet cards, really good. Pizza packs, that sort of thing. It's quite a nice sort of lightweight card to cut, but it's got body enough to be able to support kind of making with any kind of card or art project. So I've cut loads of strips, and at the top of them, I want to give a little kind of ear area for the cat. I could just cut that out, but what I'm going to do first is kind of draw the triangles for the ears and then make sure I cut around them. So I'm just going to use a black pen. I've got a Sharpie. You could use a biro, and other brands are available. Okay, so I'm literally just going to draw in 2 little triangles to the side of the card like that. All right. And now I've done that, I'm going to get a pair of scissors and just cut out down one side of the ear, across and up to the other ear. So I've created the top of the cat's head, basically. I'd like this to be about the length of my finger. So now I've got the ears in place, I'm going to hold it next to my finger and kind of just mark with my other finger where the length of that can be. And obviously we've all got different hands. You might be doing this with young children. So working out the length of the cat can be quite useful. If the cat is about the length of your finger, you can kind of waggle it around. And obviously if you've got a whole pride of cats, would it be called a pride? A group of cats anyway. If you made quite a lot of these, you could even reenact episodes of Top Cat or other such cartoons if you wanted to. So I'm going to cut the length of the card to be about the length of my finger. And then I'm going to draw a cat's face onto it. And again, that's going to be really simply done. I'm going to use just on this one, it's quite a small area. I'm not going to go into much detail. I'm going to give my cat 2 eyes, a little triangular nose, and 2 curls for the mouth like that. And I'm going to draw on some whiskers. Now, if you were feeling particularly kind of interested in going a bit further, I've just drawn the whiskers on there, but I was actually thinking of cutting some whiskers. I've got some really thin black card here. It's quite windy where we are, so I want to make sure nothing blows away. To do something this detailed, I'm going to put my glasses on as well. And I'm going to cut some really thin strips of card. Obviously, if you're working with kids, going to use some smaller scissors. And it can be useful to get all of these little strips of card that you're going to work with cut out and ready on a table if you're going to do it with a group of kids. So I'm just going to cut some lengths of card to make little whiskers. I've cut 6 lengths, and I can lay those along the cat, along the side of the face where I've drawn the whiskers. I'm going to lay them along either side, and I'm going to use a little bit of sellotape down the middle of that bit of card, which is now my cat finger puppet, just to tape those into place. So I've got the whiskers in place. Get a little bit of sellotape. And I'm going to stick that down the middle. And then I've got my whiskers in place as well. So that one is a slightly more elaborate cat to the one I made earlier. So there's the one I made earlier. And there's the one I've stuck some whiskers on. And the last thing I want to do is put a little loop on the back for it to sit on my finger. Okay, so that one's stuck on there. That one's got the whiskers on. And I've literally got some black card. This is like a heavy duty paper card. It'll roll a bit easier than something like the card that I've used for the actual cat body itself, the serial card. And I'm just making sure that that roll is big enough to fit onto my finger, loose enough to go onto my finger, that is. I'm going to cut that to size. And again, I'm just going to use a couple of bits of sellotape to stick it into place. So I'm going to stick a small amount of sellotape on to make the loop, and then have another little bit of sellotape that is going to stick it onto the body of the cat. Pop that on the back. So I've stuck that loop into place now. And that is my second cat with the whiskers. Now you can see on this one that we've put a couple of little legs for the cat and its tummy. And on some of the other cardboard cats that I'm going to move on to, you can see I've put some kind of stripes and details on them. So you could decorate the body of your cat with a pen. I might even give this one like a Fair Isle tank top or something like that. So I'm going to give it like a silly little kind of V-neck and make some patterns on it as well. So it looks like it's wearing, a lot of people like to dress their animals up these days. So I can make that one look as if it's wearing a little jumper as well. So it doesn't just have to be a natural body of a cat. Did one earlier as well with black paper. So if you're using black, you want to use something like a white pen. A Tipp-Ex pen can be good for that. Tiny bit of white paint if you've got a thin paintbrush. And even chalk. I was drawing on one earlier with chalk, which I put down somewhere. So there's one I've done with white chalk. So you could make a whole range of black and white cat finger puppets that kind of take on a little mind of their own when they're all together. Okay, so really simple little card projects, quite good fun. And then, of course, you've got the kind of silly play with them afterwards. You could do this with any animals, but we're just thinking about cats today. So those are the little cat finger puppets. The next thing I've done is use some tubes. Now, you can use inside of toilet rolls for this, or kitchen rolls. Again, really simple scrap materials that you might well have at home. I think it's a great thing to do to use up what would be waste resources and do some fun creative activity rather than sort of spending money on expensive materials and stuff like that. You can use ready-made tubes. So this is half of a tube from a kitchen roll. That's one from a loo roll. The toilet roll one, this one, is actually a lot stiffer card than the kitchen paper one. I'm going to use the kitchen paper one first. Now, to make the ears at the top, you can simply press the tube down as if you were kind of trying to close the end. So you can press it down from the back and it will kind of fold down into place. And then you can press the front down as well. So I've kind of squished either end. And then when I turn it front onto you, I've created the kind of ears at the top for the cat. And immediately I can use my black pen again and I can colour on 2 kind of ear triangles for this cat. Okay. Doesn't have to be too neat. It can be a really quick and simple thing. The good thing about simple bits of craft, like making animals like this, if you look anything up online, you can look for animal craft. If our theme was pigs or monkeys or anything like that, you can see how faces can be really, really simplified. So again there, that one's just got 2 dots for eyes. But on this one, I've given it some kind of slightly more almond shaped eyes. So I've gone into a bit more detail on the face, but the face can be very simple indeed. So if I start off with 2 circles, and again, I'm going to give this one quite a triangular nose, and then I'm going to draw in its little kind of cheeks, the mouth area, and I can simply draw on whiskers. And I can draw on whiskers there. Now, straight away, I've created a little tube cat. I saw an amazing thing a few weeks ago. Someone has used, I think, toilet rolls every single day in lockdown, toilet roll inners, or every time they've finished a loo roll. Probably quite a lot if you're going to the loo at home all the time. And they have decorated the toilet rolls and created an amazing collection. And some of them are people and some of them are animals. So again, you can get really creative with tubes. If you haven't got toilet roll inners or inners like that, again, you can literally use bits of scrap card or paper and make yourself a tube. Now, I've cut out a piece of card here and I can make a tube with this. And obviously you can see that's a bigger, thicker tube. That's going to be quite a fat cat. Now, the good thing about making my own tube to make this animal is I could actually work on this flat. So I could get much more kind of creative with the look of the cat and the design on it and its body. And I'm not having to work kind of holding it up and drawing on in the round, so to speak. So whilst I can work on a ready-made tube and decorate it, and again, I'll go back onto that and give it a body. If I've got a flat piece of card that I'm going to roll up and make my own tube on, I'm going to, first of all, mark out the ears for the cat, the top of the head in the middle, and then the rest of it will just be its body. It looks a bit like the top of a Batman mask at the moment. Okay, So that would be the top of this tube. And when I cut it out and roll it round, that's going to be the top of the cat. Because it's flat, I can now take quite a bit of time, much time as I like, to draw and decorate my cat here. So I'm going to give my cat some kind of slightly more almond eyes. I'm going to give it a more detailed nose. Cats and dogs often have very interesting kind of Cleopatra style sort of eyeliner in their markings. If you've got a pet, you could even try and do like your own pet portrait of your own cat. You'll find as well, I'm just doing this quickly and sort of doodling it, and you'll find that instantly each cat face that you draw will take on its own character, which can be quite good fun. I'm just working with kind of grey or white card and paper or black paper because we're working on a black and white theme. But of course, you could make ginger toms or go into any sort of colour that you like here. Going back down onto the table again to do this. And I'm going to carry on decorating the cat, giving it whiskers. And then this one is going to be a kind of stripy tiger type cat. I can give it some little paws at the bottom as well. As I said, you can be as quick or as simple or as detailed as you like doing this. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, I've drawn on it flat. I'm going to keep that sellotape for a minute. I'm going to cut out the shape of this now, where I drew the top of it. So instead of a folded down top to the tube, I'm now cutting out the ear shapes for this cat. Cut it out like that. Going to roll it around. Stick it together. And there I've got my little tube cat to go into my collection of cats that I'm making here, okay? If you're really going to get into doing something like this, you could even use modelling clay or Fimo or even homemade salt dough. There are some really simple recipes you can find online, just mixing flour, salt and water, maybe a little bit of oil, and making a soft dough, roll it out thinly, and you could make in the flat that sort of shape. I told you it was a bit windy. Just get my cat again. Hang on a minute. So you could make in the flat that sort of shape, even in icing, actually. People do icing art as well, don't they? And that, again, that gives you a kind of a flat surface. And not only could you paint on to that with different colours, but you could also, if you were using a modelling clay, use tools or cocktail sticks or even old forks. So I often use cutlery for tools at home if I haven't got clay tools with me. You can press things into the surface of the clay to make impressions, to make kind of patterns and designs onto it as well. So if you really went off on a kind of, I am going to make cats in any way I can, you could take this into something that was modelled. And if that was made in more durable card or even in a modelling clay, you could maybe put a bottom onto it and it could become something like a pen holder or a little vase or something like that. Okay, even if it was made in something like papier-mâché that's formed around a plastic tube, that's something that you could also paint on, let it dry, glaze it, and then you've spent a lot of your time at home making wonderful creative things, taking up hours of fun for you and decorating your house and making all of your gifts for Christmas for the people that like cats around you. Okay, so I've done a couple of card things with cats. I'm going to go on to some flat activities now. I am still using the same materials that I've just used. So I've got black card. If I didn't have this grey card with me, which again, I think this was from a bit of packaging that arrived at the house. It was like a poster that was rolled up or something, or even the end of a roll of baking paper or something like that. Cereal boxes. Yeah, cereal boxes, that sort of thing. So they're great for cutting out and drawing on the inside and using for art stuff. You don't need even to buy you know, printer paper or anything like that. But I've got black card here. I've got a massive pile of black and white patterned papers here. I'm going to shamelessly plug the company that I get these from, which is Who Gives a Crap, which sell ethical toilet paper, and it comes wrapped in paper. It's made from sustainable sources. There's no plastic packaging involved when it gets delivered to your house. So I order this stuff. It gets delivered in a cardboard box. All the toilet rolls are wrapped in paper. Most of the time in the year, they're wrapped in all these amazing black and white papers, which I love. So I keep them all the time. Sometimes they have coloured patterned papers if there's a special event in the year, or if it's Christmas, they have bits with gold on or whatever. But it's really nice. The other thing about this paper is it's quite nice. It's almost like tissue paper. So it's lovely to use for craft. And I've used it on quite a lot of activities today. And I'll show you this one now, and I'll move on and show you some others in a minute. Really simple cat collage here. Okay. Now, I've done this with some of the black and white paper from the loo rolls, from my loo rolls that I've collected. But you could easily do this. I saw a picture of a cat like this done online, but done with newsprint. So just with newspaper. That's a really great resource if you buy, or even free papers sometimes still get put through doors. You know, there are often newspapers lying around. So again, collect your newspaper. You can cut out a really simple shape for a cat. I'm going to use newspaper for this one, actually. Try and find a bit with no contentious reporting on it, which can be hard these days. The TV and radio guide, that'll be fine. Yeah. So I am going to cut out a cat's kind of body and head. Now I could do this all in one, and in fact, it might be an idea if I draw a rough shape of it. Because I do a lot of art and craft myself, I tend to just go in and cut things out and all that stuff. But if you're going to do crafts like this, especially with younger people at home and young children even, it can be a good idea to maybe make a template out of card for shapes like this. So if you draw something on an old cereal packet, like the shape of a body, I'm literally just doing it. It's going to look like a sort of upside down plant pot or bucket. And then there's going to be a round head here for the cat, and it's going to have 2 ears as well. Okay, so I've drawn the shape that I want onto the newspaper. If you drew that shape out and cut it out in card, that can be drawn around and used as a template for anyone else who wants to make something like this. So, or you could let them go freestyle and you could get all manner of different shaped cats, because cats come in different shapes and sizes, just like people do. So it's up to you how much you want to, if you're going to do this with other people, how much you want to kind of help them do it. So I'm just cutting that shape out of this bit of newspaper now. And it's going to give me this kind of quite pale, it's going to look like sort of grayish kind of tone in a collage. It's going to be the lighter bit of the collage. So I'm just cutting that out of the newspaper, hoping it's not going to blow away. Having to sort of pin everything down as I go here. Quite like that side actually as well. That's got half of a coloured cartoon and some Sudoku on it, kind of thing. So that's quite fun if I wanted colours. I'm going to stick with the black and white side for now, but make your choices. So I've got the shape of the cat there. I'm just going to use some glue stick to put that onto my piece of black paper. And I'm actually going to put some glue onto the place where I want it to stick down, mainly because the card is more stable than the newspaper. I'm doing this quite quickly. If I put the glue on the back of the newspaper, I might pull it around or tear it because it's quite flimsy. So I put the glue down on the actual main bit of paper. I'm just sticking that body of the cat into place. So that's like that. I'm going to use some of the black and white papers that I've collected, and I'm going to just cut out some simple triangular shapes. I'm going to use these to put the stripes onto the body that I want. When you're cutting out and you want quite a few of one thing when you're doing an art activity, you see the way here earlier on, I'd made lots of, that's a good idea. Someone just said that I could do a concertina as well. I'll show you that actually. I've made lots of strips so I could sit down. Once I've prepared all of these strips of card, I can sit down and then kind of go off making cats galore. I don't have to keep stopping and cutting a new strip to start fresh. So if you're going to need lots of one shape or one resource, it can be really useful. The wind is not being helpful today. It can be really useful to cut them out en masse, you know, and have like a little production line of making your big triangles and then get on with all of your sticking. Okay. Just to show you the concertina that a friend of mine here just mentioned. So if you fold your paper backwards and forwards a few times, you might have done this when you were a kid if you made those little paper chains of people holding hands, things like that. So now I've got sort of 4 or 5 or 6 layers of paper, and I can cut out my triangles into that paper. I can do one cut of a triangle and I've got 5 already on the table. Okay, so it's a bit of a production line. What it means is I've done all my cutting and now I can do all my sticking. All right. And I'm not having to pick up the glue stick, stick one thing on, put it down again, pick up the scissors, cut something, put the scissors down, stick that on. So if you want to do this as a fairly quick activity, preparing your shapes and resources like that can be quite a useful thing. So I'm just sticking down some stripes onto the edge of this cat. It's funny, a couple of the bits of paper have just fallen where the eyes might be, and it looks as if it's got like a Zorro mask on or something. I could do a cat with a mask on. I quite like the idea of that as well. Bandit cat. Yeah. I like that. Happy accident, where things just kind of fall into place or go a bit wrong even. And you kind of go, oh, don't mind that. That can stay like that. So what if I did give this a kind of a mask, this cat? Oh, all my. I've got a glamorous assistant here helping gather, which is brilliant. Thank you very much. I'm not sure they're going to stay here, but I'm going to stick these on the ears. I'm actually, because I've talked about a mask, I think I might make a mask separately. So I'm going to stick a couple of these triangles into the ears as well. So I've given the cat some stripes on its body. Again, nearly all of this is scrap paper. I can stick whiskers on, again, with cut pieces of card, little strips like that. I'm only going to stick the end on by the face because I quite like the way that they can sort of be curled up and stick out from the paper. So I cut a few more strips for the whiskers here. Do those quite quickly. One more there. And put 3 on the other side. So I've given this cat its whiskers. Shall I give it a bandit mask, do you think? I'm actually going to use a bit of black paper for that because I quite like the idea of it being a bit wider. So let's just cut a strip. Cut a strip about as wide as the face. And I'm going to cut some little circles in the middle. Obviously, if it was wearing a mask, it would need to see out through it somehow. Might look like it's going swimming instead. We'll see. Oh, no, it's going to look like a bandit. I like that. Yeah, that's good. So I'm just putting some glue across where that would be. And I'm going to use a pen give this cat. He looks quite happy that he's going to be robbing us tonight. Okay. So yeah, I didn't plan to do a cat with a mask on, but you know, the way those triangles fell, it just looked like it was going to be that sort of cat. Okay. But again, I could go on with this, collaging it. I could draw into it more, give it more kind of details and patterns and stuff like that. So I've used the same set, few bits of card, few bits of black paper, and some kind of scrap bits of paper and resources, all black and white, that I've gathered for today's session. The last thing that I wanted to show you, doing some sort of black and white art today. Just moving some of this stuff to the side. I'd quite like you to see the table I'm working on. And the next, be gone, you cats. There we go. So over the course of the day, before I started doing the craft activity, I covered this table with some white paper, and I'll show you the roll of paper I've got, okay? So I've got a big roll of white paper. It's not great paper. It's quite kind of porous and cheap, and it tears really easily. But I've got meters and meters and meters of it on a roll here. And I think I probably picked this up at a scrap store. Most towns and cities have got scrap stores. If you can't get to one now, you might even find things like old rolls of wallpaper. You might have old rolls of wallpaper at home that you haven't used. People you know, whether it's plain lining paper, which can be really good for using for art stuff, or whether it is patterned paper but it's plain on the back, you can turn it over and work on the back of it. I've used this roll of paper and I've covered the entire table before we started doing the kind of cut and paste activities that we've done today. You can even buy paper tablecloths and rolls of paper kind of tablecloth that they make for kind of events and garden parties and stuff like that, you know, if you're having a barbecue in the back garden. So you could find just a piece of paper like that that's meant to cover a table. I've stuck it down onto the edges of the table, and as we've been doing black and white art today and we had a theme of cats, I started off by kind of doodling a cat's face onto the table. I've got a thick marker pen, a thin marker pen. I've got some biros and little gel pens as well. The good thing about doodling with pen is that nothing you do is wrong. Okay? Be wrong, because it's just arrived on the page, on the paper. It's never going to be rubbed out or erased. So it doesn't matter what emerges. That is the thing that you've doodled today. I love doodling. Anyone can do. Have a look at it. We're going to leave it like this in white. It's quite a thing these days. If you were to Google or use another search engine or look on Zentangle, Zentangle is a method of doodling where you just work in black and white. Normally you use a black pen on a piece of white paper. And actually Zentangle is often done in a very small way. People often work on very tiny bits of paper that are kind of sort of 2 or 3 inches square. It can be a really lovely, calming. It's not scary working small because you've got a small space to fill, and you can do things that are really small details. And the idea is that you just doodle patterns. So you might decide a good way to start is to say, okay, I'm going to do lines and circles. I do lines and circles all the time because I like stripes and I like dots. Okay. So if I sit here, I think I'm going to doodle and I'm going to do lines and circles. Now, I started doodling this cat earlier with a big pen. So I created some shapes. I'm working in a big area of paper here. Okay. So I created some shapes and I've used up quite a lot of space on the paper. And then there's still loads of blank space to fill. And that can be quite intimidating. So what I've done is I've started to kind of divide up the areas here. So I'm imagining that this is perhaps a cat's tail, this bit of the doodle here. You can see there's another part that I've echoed here. Done a sort of slightly yin yang up and down cat kind of doodle here. There's another cat's face here. Can you see that one as well? That's an amazing little cat's face there. We've got some freestyle cat's eyes here that turned into this incredible abstract piece of art. That's like being stared at by 1,000 cats, actually. It's quite interesting. There's a huge kind of... okay. Is the sound fading when I move around? Okay. I'm just going to take the mic with me. There's a huge kind of almost Indian inspired cat's face on the corner there, which has got kind of mandalas in the center of its eyes. That one looks like it's having some kind of psychedelic experience. But anyway, going back to this, I've divided some areas up and now I'm going to fill them with patterns. And I said, I'm just going to think about lines and dots and circles. So nothing kind of fantastic. I don't have to be able to draw amazing cats. I'm just going to fill a space with pattern. So this section here, I'm literally doing loads of black lines close together. And because I've got a thick marker pen, it fills the space up quite nicely. Next section, I'm going to fill with some little black sort of dashy lines here. And I'm just going to go on and on like this through each section of my doodle, choosing patterns. I don't have to be great at drawing. Anything that I do may or not be okay by me, but even if I don't like that bit I just did, just move on to the next bit. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to do some zigzag lines. In Zentangle, it's quite nice to think about the balance between black and white in your kind of areas of doodling. So it's not even neat or regular, this one. Quite often there is regularity in Zentangle patterns, but it doesn't have to be. Remember, we're just doodling. Now, that area's got quite a lot of black in it. Those two have got less black and more white in the areas that I've covered. So in the next section, I'm actually going to think about putting more black in again because I want to get a kind of balance between the black and white over the whole kind of area that I'm doodling. And you can see I'm still working with kind of lines and dashes, and I've kind of moved on from the zigzag pattern that I just did to make a kind of herringbone here. Okay, and I'm going to keep on going, filling each section with pattern. Okay. And that's all there is to it. And if you were to carry on filming me, you could probably come back in an hour's time and I would still be doing this. Once you get into the zone with doodling and Zentangle, as I said, it can be a really relaxing thing to do. And switch your mind off. You don't really even have to be thinking about what you're doing. And if you look up, you did do an image search for something like Zentangle online, you can even get ideas for the patterns that you might use. And that can be really useful if you're sat there going, I don't know what to draw. Okay. But as you looked around the table here, you can see some stuff that's really bold. And in fact, what we've also started to do in various places is also use some of those black and white papers that I had to put collage on here as well. So the black and white theme has been doodled. some really lovely simple patterns, but really effective, again, into those divided sections on that S for Steamco there that someone's done. And then you've got this huge, bold kind of concentric heart pattern sat next to it. So a whole range of techniques just in that one area. So take your time, find some black and white resources, sit down with the inside of a cereal box and a black pen and get creative. Do some black and white art. Maybe think about cats, think about patterns, and go for it. So hopefully I've given you loads of different ideas there for ways to get creative. Don't have to be artistic. You don't have to be brilliant at art. You don't have to be a great drawer. You just need a few simple resources that you can find at home or gather really easily. And you can spend half an hour or a whole day doing something fun and creative for yourself or with friends and family. It's well worth the effort. It's a really nice way to spend some time. Is that okay, Nick?
That was absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Franca. That was really, really wonderful. Thanks very much. Thanks to the guys for the camera work there. Wow, wonderful. So we're going to put some of that up on the out in the art trails. Does that sound like a plan to you?
Yeah, really good. Really good. Yeah.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming. That's Franca Westaway there. Wonderful. She's got a fantastic Instagram feed. Actually, Franca, remind us very quickly. You did something on Instagram, didn't you, last year? You had a little series of pieces. Remind us what that was all about.
A series of pieces of work on Instagram. Oh, yes, I did. Online, there's often a thing called the 100-Day Project. Sorry, I'm talking to Nikki's over there, but camera I'm facing here. So, yeah, there's a thing called the 100-Day Project, which on Instagram, a lot of artists take part in. Some people do it on Facebook, but you can look up, there's an actual web page for the 100-Day Project as well. And that's a brilliant thing to do because you can set yourself any kind of challenge you want. I mean, you could say to yourself, I'm going to eat a banana every day for 100 days. But if you're doing it as an artistic challenge, like last year, I think I took the theme of line and colour. And I am a textile designer, and I used the themes of line and colour to basically explore art every day. It's hard to do it every day for 100 days, but even if you don't manage the whole 100 days, just taking time, setting the intention, and maybe spending anywhere from sort of 10 minutes to an hour or two every day doing something creative can be a really good way to get yourself into the flow of creativity and to kind of get work done that you would never get done otherwise. So yeah, it's a lovely way to inspire being creative to do that sort of project.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, Franca. See you later on. See you around the campfire later, maybe. Thank you. That was wonderful. So I'm going to wrap up for a moment now. We've got DJ New Love, who's going to do a little DJ workshop. Probably do that about 5 o'clock. And then we're going to have a kids disco, and then we will go into the Saturday evening. So we'll see what the evening brings for us there. We'll see what the evening brings. So let's just go back to the art show. Just remind you what we've got here. So if anybody wants to come along tomorrow, this is what you can expect to see. You can expect to see this wonderful site, the School of Art and Wellbeing, an art trail on the one side, which we did a streamed preview of earlier, and then an art trail around the other side there as well. That's Art Camp 20. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching it either live or after the event. And Louise Quinton's here. These look amazing. So you've just been bigged up from Leeds there, Franca. Just had a big up from Leeds, and Louise is absolutely wonderful. So we've just picked her up there. I'm hoping that we'll get this shared. Obviously, people are busy. People are out and about while they can be. They're locked in, they're locked out, whatever. So we are doing what we can here at the School of Art and Wellbeing. We've got the art trail at the back, and then at the front, the big art trail. And Louise, if you want to submit some stuff, just send a piece of work or anything you've done before, hashtag eclectic art trail, hashtag artcamp20, hashtag myart20, and we'll stick it in there, and you'll go on the virtual art trails. Put it on the web page. You can have a whole long web page with lots of art, and we'll create a virtual art trail. So with little videos, you want to do a 60-second clip or something, we'll put that all in. You might have better things to do. I don't know. Here we go. So thanks so much for checking this out. This is the Art Camp 20. We're just doing our best. We're doing our best to connect communities with art, with creativity, with culture, to remember what it is that makes us human, what it is that got us through lockdown. It was our art, it was our creativity, and it was our connections using art, technology, and people. We're building castles in the sky. We're aiming higher than high as the sky. Inspiring people, camping, engaging talks, workshops, community engagement. See you at 5 o'clock for the DJ workshop.
In the sky.